Have you ever been in a high-stakes moment, a meeting, a negotiation, a difficult conversation, and you can feel your brain change? You're still you, but you're sharper 1 second, and then suddenly you're more reactive. You want to respond calmly, but your chest is tight and your thoughts are scattered, and you're 1 sentence away from saying something you'll regret. That difference isn't intelligence, it's composure. It's your ability to stay calm when pressure hits. And that ability sits inside what neuroscientists call executive function. Basically, your brain's ability to run the room when emotions rise. Now, here's the part most people don't expect. Strength training improves executive function, not because it builds discipline or toughens you up, but because it trains the exact systems your brain uses to stay steady under stress. So in this video, I'm going to show you what executive function actually is, what chronic stress does to it, and the 3 biggest ways lifting weights upgrade your brain under pressure, plus a simple plan that you can run 2 to 3 days per week. So for quick context, I'm Daniel Cruz. I'm a physiotherapist and health coach. I kept seeing the same pattern. High performers doing well professionally while their health quietly starts leaking into their performance. Fatigue, brain fog, poor sleep, recurring injuries, and that always on feeling. So let's break this down properly. Executive function is driven largely by your prefrontal cortex, or the area just behind your forehead. Think of it as your internal CEO. It's part of the brain that helps you stay rational when emotions rise. It has 3 core jobs. Firstly, inhibitory control. That's your mental brake pedal. It stops impulses before they become actions, like firing off the emotional reply, interrupting a meeting, or making a rash decision when pressure spikes. Secondly is your working memory. That's your mental whiteboard. It lets you hold multiple moving parts in mind at once, so numbers, risks, priorities, trade-offs, and actually manipulate them in real time. And thirdly is cognitive flexibility. That's your ability to switch gears. New information arrives, the situation changes, and you can pivot without getting stuck or start spiraling. So if executive function is strong, you can stay calm, think clearly, and choose your response. If executive function is weak, you become reactive. You default to autopilot. You feel less like yourself. Now here's the problem. This is what stress does to your brain. In immediate stress, your body does what it's designed to do. Cortisol rises, adrenaline rises, your nervous system shifts into survival mode, your emotional system gets louder. That's why stress makes smart people do dumb things, because the issue isn't IQ. It's that the CEO is getting drowned out by the fire alarm. And if stress becomes chronic, this becomes your baseline. You become more irritable, your focus is noisier, your memory feels weaker, your patience is thinner. You don't need a dramatic breakdown to be in burnout territory. Sometimes it can feel like needing caffeine to function, feeling tired but wired, being less sharp in the afternoons, and having less emotional bandwidth at home. So where does strength training fit in? So let's get practical. Here are 3 ways strength training upgrades performance under pressure. Firstly, you practice control under load. When you lift weights, especially compound movements, your brain has to manage a lot at once. You're coordinating joints, you're stabilizing your spine, controlling your breathing, and maintaining balance, producing force. And most importantly, you're practicing constraint, because lifting well isn't about chaos. It's about staying calm, staying tight, staying precise, while something heavy is trying to pull you out of position. Let me make this real. A heavy squat or deadlift demands the same mental skill you want in a high-stakes conversation. Slow down, stay stable, don't panic, execute the next step cleanly. Every rep is basically a small rehearsal of pressure and control. And if you train this properly, you felt this. You walk up to the bar, your heart rate's up. You want to rush, but you don't. You brace, you control your breathing, you focus, and you move. That is executive function in action. So you're not just training muscle, you're training your brain's ability to stay organized under stress. Secondly, your muscles send your brain upgrade signals. This is actually one of my favorite concepts because it changes how you see training. Your muscles don't just move your body. They act like a signaling organ. When you lift weights, contracting muscle releases chemicals into the bloodstream, often called myokines. If you don't care about the science terms, here's a simple version. Muscles send messages to your brain that promote brain health and adaptability. One of the key outcomes is increased support for something called BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Here's a simple analogy. BDNF is like fertilizer for your brain. It supports learning, sharper communication between brain cells, and better adaptability. So strength isn't about just building muscle tissue in your body. It's supporting your brain's ability to rewire and stay sharp, especially when life is demanding. An important point for high performers: you don't need to train to exhaustion for this. You don't need 6 sessions per week. You don't need to destroy yourself. In fact, if your goal is performance and cognition, a lot of the time you'll do better with controlled, repeatable training where you leave 1 to 3 reps in the tank. Because we're not training suffering, we're training output and control. Thirdly, you reduce brain noise and improve stability. Chronic stress tends to increase inflammation and make brain signaling noisier. The best way to picture this is like a radio. Where there's static, it's harder to hear the music. High inflammation and chronic stress equals more static. More static equals worse focus, more reactivity, and more decision fatigue. And there's another part that matters under pressure. When you lift weights, your blood pressure rises and falls quickly during sets. Brain has to keep blood flow and oxygen delivery stable through those swings. Over time, your system adapts. Think of it like better shock absorbers. So you get more stable fuel delivery to the brain under stress. And stable fuel supports stable thinking. This is one reason some people notice they feel calmer even when they're training consistently. It's not just mood, it's regulation. So what does this mean in real life? If we zoom out, strength training helps you in 3 powerful ways. You practice control under load, you trigger muscle to brain support signals, and you reduce noise and improve energy stability. That's why the goal isn't to be the strongest person on earth. The goal is to build a nervous system that stays steady when life is heavy. Now let's turn this into a plan that fits a busy week. If your goal is better composure, sharper thinking, and more consistent energy, here's a simple structure. Train 2-3 times per week, 45 to 60 minutes per session, and focus on compound patterns, a squat pattern, a hinge pattern, or some sort of deadlift variation. Push or press pattern, as well as a pull, either a row or a pull down. Keep it repeatable, heavy enough that you have to focus, not so heavy that your technique falls apart. And one key rule, always leave 1 to 3 reps in reserve, because we're training control, not self-destruction. Progress gradually, add a rep, add a small amount of load, add a set over time. If you're new to lifting, start lighter and get coaching on form, because you'll get brain benefits from good training, not reckless training. And here's a timeline to remember. Give it 12 weeks. 12 consistent weeks of 2 to 3 sessions per week is enough for many people to notice real changes, not just physically, but mentally. Clearer thinking, better stress tolerance, more stable mood, and less reactivity. So when life gets heavy, what you're really trying to protect isn't motivation, it's your prefrontal cortex. It's your ability to pause, think clearly, and choose your response instead of reacting. Because the worst decisions you've ever made weren't because you're not smart enough. They happened when your brain's CEO got drowned out by the fire alarm. Strength training is one of the most time-efficient ways to keep that CEO in the chair. Not by making you tougher, but by making your system steadier. So here's the question worth sitting with. If you knew that 3 hours a week could change how you show up in every high pressure moment for the rest of your career, would you still say you don't have time? If this landed, I want you to subscribe. This channel is strength, recovery, sleep, and cognitive performance. Built for people who can't afford to be at 60%.